Hey guys, in this video, I will be playing the hero all of us started using when we first played Mobile Legends. She's the one who taught us the most basic skills on how to play Mobile Legends. However, her kindness in guiding us when we were just newbies isn't appreciated at all, and some even like to call her a troll pig. You probably already know who am I referring to. She's a marksman and has got 2 ponytails, and most importantly, she's cute. Probably that's why I'm starting to like using her so much nowadays. That's right, I'm talking about Layla. And by the way, this is a trio game in a mythic 4 lobby. If you have been following, I posted a short video about Layla one-shotting a lot of heroes few days back. My friend saw it and thought Layla can do pretty well as long as the user is decent, so they allowed me to play her in this match. This viewer was pretty surprised as to how I was able to burst the enemies down so quickly. To answer that, I decided to make a video about this terrorist marksman, and if you are wondering, it isn't just about build and emblem setup. If you want to find out how the trick works, be sure to watch till the end. Though Layla is all of our starter hero, I'm pretty sure most players do not know one thing about her, that she can be a skill caster. Now without further ado, let's dive into the gameplay. If you want to do an insane amount of damage with your skills, it's important to build penetration items instead of crit items. So the first thing I do after spawning is to prioritize Fairy Hammer. It's a cheap penetration item for skill caster. Remember, this Layla is a skill caster burst MM. She isn't a usual crit build MM like Moskov and Melissa. You might think playing her like Beatrix isn't practical, but throughout the gameplay, you will realize how disgusting she can be with this new playstyle. By the way, in case you're wondering, this Franco isn't from my trio, but he's really decent and was really kind to help me. I mean, it's just fair because the Hylos is also helping the Beatrix. My friend Valentina was having some connection problem, so Cyclops was a little ahead and played aggressively, which is definitely the right way. As a mage, it's important to gank the marksman right after clearing your lane, in order to avoid them getting fed, so your team can have a higher chance at winning. Here, I thought of clearing the waves because the priority is to get fed ASAP. However, I need to help Franco as he is in danger. If you want the tank to help you, don't leave them to die when you can do something. As you can see, Layla's skills base damage are clearly not that low, and it gets crazier once you get a few more items. Oh crap, got too greedy. You might have noticed I cut quite a lot of gameplay because the early game was kinda boring due to the earlier teamfight happened at the turtle lane, which is at the top lane. In case you didn't notice, I didn't even use my basic attack once in that fight. It's important to place a mark with your second skill and then use other skills to detonate it for extra damage when playing Layla as a skill caster. The problem of a skill caster MM is that you might run out of mana pretty often unless you're Granger or Beatrix. However, using her this way definitely makes your early game performance a lot better, while ensuring that you can still burst down the enemies in late game. I personally experimented this playstyle with a good number of matches, and the win rate is a lot more higher than the usual crit build. The critical build requires you to get a few more items before you can start being a threat to the enemies, while this build does not. When you are given the opportunity, try to hit the turret shield to gain as much gold as possible. At the same time, you should always pay attention to the signals sent by your teammates when they tell you about the enemies being missing in the chat or simply just by using the retreat signal at your lane. It is useless for your teammates to send the signals if you don't pay attention to them. However, if you pay attention to those signals and you have good map awareness, you can definitely avoid getting ganked by surprise.
We can do it! Time to shine! Killing spree!
After finish pushing the bottom lane, it is time to gank the other lanes.
Keep it up until you're as brilliant as me! Time to shine!
As As you can see, when marking a lot of enemies with your second skill, and then hitting them all with your ult, you will deal a huge AoE burst damage. That is why I like using her as a skill caster so much, due to the satisfaction you get when bursting down the enemies using this combo. Here comes another team fight. I want you to pay attention to my positioning. As you can see, the enemies are clearly fighting there, but I cannot go too near because I will be in a lot of danger. Here we are all low in HP and outnumbered, so I'm pinging retreat. It's important to avoid dying when you are playing the marksman. As the ranged hero, you should always maintain social distancing with your enemies if you want to stay alive. You might have noticed that I'm not staying in the bottom lane for too long even though that is my lane. This is because Layla is a marksman with bad mobility and I've already pushed the bottom lane. The enemy will be able to kill me easily if I continue pushing without any of my teammates nearby. Of course, this applies to any other marksman as well. If you want to push, it is important to ensure that your teammates are nearby to provide vision.
Keep it up until you're as brilliant as me. Time to shine!
Since Layla is a skill caster and not an attack speed MMO, it's important to always reposition yourself after casting your skills and only stand still to use your basic attack when you are in a safe position. If you are not, just retreat.
Keep it up until you're as brilliant as me.
The same thing happened here. After using my first skill on the enemies, I got a little bit of movement speed, and it's important to utilize it in order to reposition yourself and play her as a skill caster.
Keep it up until you're as brilliant as me.
A huge mistake by Cushion. Although he has fast fingers, he still couldn't outrun Layla's long range.
We can do it.
Just look at the amount of damage dealt to Beatrix. I only had to pull the enemies from a distance and let my teammates do the killing. Like I've always said, the winning team tends to get overconfident and cocky sometimes, and that happens to me as well.
Time to shine!
That's why you should always be humble and don't think the game is over yet.
We can do it. Time to shine!
I started to realize Beatrix had become a threat, so I decided to kill her no matter what. But in hindsight, it actually feels really unnecessary. I Like I've mentioned many times in this video, it's always important to maintain your social distance with the enemies before casting your skills, especially when using Layla, whose second skill has a really high delay. It's important to reposition yourself to a safer spot like this before casting it on the enemies. And not only does this apply to other marksmen, it also applies to a lot of mages whose skills have a certain delay and also require you to always position well.
Keep it up until you're as brilliant as me. We can do it. Time to shine.
Here, I chose Wind Doctor as my last item, but actually, it only slightly improves your one-shot experience. If you wish to have more survivability, you can choose Wind of Nature or Immortality as the last item.
Time to shine.
By design, Layla is probably meant to be played as an anti-speed marksman who stands still on the spot and keep on firing basic attacks at the enemies. However, I find it really risky for her to be played like that, especially when she has no blading skills. Therefore, I think it's pretty good to play her as a skill caster who just fire skill on the enemies and use one or two basic attacks and then reposition herself when you see that the situation is a little bit dangerous. That's all for this video. I hope that you have learned something new about positioning as a ranged hero who has low mobility. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe and thank you for watching.